you don't realize is what you picked up from being in a narcissistic or abusive relationship, and what, things that triggered you to use or whatever. The one thing that did lack was communications, and that's the one thing we told each other and told ourselves, that in order for this relationship and this marriage to work is we had to communicate.
Two things. What's the other one? Trust, yeah.
Hi, I'm Taylor Strickland. I'm a writer here with Locala magazine, and today I am being joined by Alicia and Tina Northcott. They're going to be part of our LGBTQ issue for the magazine, and we are here today to see their story. So welcome.
Thank you.
I hear you guys have a pretty interesting story about how you met.
Yes.
We do.
I've not heard it yet, like literally anything at all. The only thing Alicia's told me is that you guys met on TikTok.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So, I met I have a pretty decent amount of followers when she came across my TikTok page, and she liked one of my videos, and so I was following her for a little while, and I had like a little TikTok crush on her. So I pretty much manifested my wife. So I was like, she's going to comment, and she
was like, that's going to be mine.
Oh, wow.
And she had a comment, and I responded, and she was like, get me on Facebook.
I was like, listen, you have to video chat me because I don't want to catfish.
Even though I had a whole bunch of videos on TikTok.
I was just about to say, you saw her face.
You never know. People could steal people's videos.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
And filters and
I made her video chat me before I talked to her.
So video chat her, and it was from there just sparks. But we tried to do a little different than our past relationships, because I had a lot of toxic relationships, and then she had a lot of toxic relationships.
So then we had our first date planned, which was a Tuesday or
Thursday.
A Thursday. Well, that Wednesday night, I ended up being on the phone with her, and my left side of my body went out. So I told her, I was like, I was in the hospital. I ended up having my first stroke.
No, so she actually was not feeling good when we were video chatting, and she was like, my whole left side is numb, tingly. I said, I know you're not the type to go to the hospital, but you need to go to the hospital. And so she went to the hospital, and I was like, let me know what's going on. She messaged me saying that they're admitting her, and I was like, okay, because I told her, I said, you could be having a stroke. And lo and behold, she was having a stroke while she was on video chat with me.
Wow. Has anything like that happened to you before?
No. I have blood clots in my family, and most of the women in my family have died from blood clots from one thing or another. My mom's the only living female left on her side of the family, except for her younger sister. And that's it.
Wow. What did that do for the relationship? Because that's a serious thing.
So we had this date planned Thursday. She was like, well, I know how to ruin stuff. I said, who said you ruined anything? I said, which hospital you at? She was like, you're not coming to see me. I said, you got me feeling vibes with you right now, and I want to make sure that this is real feelings. I said, so I'm going to come up to the hospital that you're at. So she was at North Regional Florida Hospital in Gainesville. And after work, it was my day off, I went and got a Baby Yoda with a rainbow lantern. And
spray perfume on it.
And spray perfume on it. And I made her I told her, I was like, no matter what, I'm coming up there to spend time with you. And I waited about an hour in the waiting area until everybody, because there was still COVID restrictions. And when it was time for me to go, I went up there, and it was about 2-3 hours we spent. Mm-hmm. And I was there the whole time when she was in the hospital.
I ended up having 2 more
afterwards.
Wow. Yeah. That's terrible, but how romantic on your part. What a romantic thing.
Yep.
That is so sweet. You a big fan of, what is it, The Mandalorian?
She never watched it.
I was like, what?
I hope you've watched it since.
I watched it, but she's never watched it, and so I was a big fan of Baby Yoda, and it was just like, who
that's
doesn't
from the
love
Star Wars movie?
Yeah, I was like,
Oh
who-
my gosh, you don't even know. Well, it was a wonderful gesture anyway. How did that make you see Alicia after that?
That was it for me.
Wow.
Like, I already knew, but we, like she was saying before, is we wanted to do things different, so we didn't want to just hop into a relationship. We wanted to actually get to know each other as friends first, which, not just in LGBTQ, but, you know,
Everyone.
It moves fast,
Yeah.
you know, and it's everyone. And we still move rather fast, but we got to know each other, like, on a real
It was
level.
organic the way it
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, life-changing event. She shows up to help. I get it.
Yeah.
So those previous relationships, I know that's not the only thing you guys had in common. What else did you guys have in common?
Recovery.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you approach? Did you guys know going in or?
So for me, I started putting it out there that
Well, where I was living.
well, she was living too, but I was putting out there in TikTok that I've been sober for 4.5, 5 years, and my previous relationship was kind of rocky to where they were trying to get me to relapse, and after a couple other things, I was like, that's not the person for me. And so what was the most important for me was you had to respect my boundaries of not drinking. And when I asked her where she was living at, she was living at a sober living house at the time. And I was like, great, because we're on the same level as that. And then that's when she told me about her recovery.
March will be 4 years.
Oh, congratulations. Early congratulations.
Thank you.
And it's been a year and I had almost 2 years of you sober.
Because when I met her, I'm in recovery from opiates. She's in recovery from alcohol. So I always said, like, I'm not gonna not have a beer again. Like, I'm gonna play pool, and, you know, I like to play pool, so I'm gonna have a beer. Well, when I met her and found out she was in recovery from alcohol, I vowed to never have a drink again. Like, I knew, like, she was the one. Before proposal, before the marriage, everything, I just knew. So I just never had a drink again. That was April last. Not this past one, but about a year and a half.
That's interesting. How do you know? Obviously, you came to this conclusion on your own because you care so much and respect Alicia. But Alicia, on your part, could you be with a partner that drank, or is that something you have to negotiate?
Something I had to negotiate.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize until really being with her, and because I never labeled myself as an alcoholic or I had an issue. And when I was going through during COVID was a lot of aha moments for me, because that's when I actually officially came out as a lesbian. Yeah, I had a lot of inner homophobia. Wow. So with that, I had, thought what I wanted, but dealing, after meeting her, talking about recovery and sobriety and stuff like that, it was just like, oh my gosh, I drank because, after I stopped doing drugs, at an early age, I picked up drinking a lot harder, and I was substituting for a lot of the trauma, a lot of mental illness, things like that I was going through. So I kicked that up. And then even though I could handle my alcohol per se, I really wasn't. And I was drinking out of fears, out of anxiety, depression. Also, when I thought I was straight and wanted to be with a man, that's when I figured I had to be, in order to attracted to a man, I had to be under an influence of some sort of alcohol, drugs, or something like that. So it was a lot. So, dealing with other people and they had drinks, if they weren't excessive with it and it was occasional social, then I would have been fine with it. But when you're constantly drinking, that's an issue for me because it's a triggering thing. So
right, it's just a lifestyle that you're not part of and can't be part of. I understand. So your first has this been your first long-term relationship with a woman, Bettina?
Was any living? She's never lived with
I never lived with anybody, man or woman. This is my first serious relationship in general.
Oh, congratulations. What a victory for both of you.
Thank you.
So during your recovery and then post-recovery, you guys were together and you were doing good, and obviously your relationship has blossomed. And I know we spoke previously about how some people have pretty firm rules about people getting together in recovery. How do you think that applies to your relationship, or why do you think that doesn't apply to everyone?
So we got together, that conversation was about the first year. Her recovery is longer than mine, but I was already into my 2.5 years of recovery when we got together. So we still like getting to know each other and learning new habits, which we're still trying to get through. But one thing is, we've never had a real argument. Had a couple disagreements where I put myself in the room because I don't want to have that first argument, you know, and we've never been to that level, like, ever. We just talk, communicate about everything, but, you know, there's always going to be, I am a firm believer of once an addict, always an addict. Doesn't mean you're going to go use because you're labeled as that, but I'm always an addict. I'm always going to fight that, you know what I mean? So there's still, even after that first year, we still have those demons or that monkey bat there on our back, you know what I mean? And it's just, our recovery actually, I think, being able to talk to each other through it without judgment.
I think that's our foundation.
Mm-hmm. It helps us.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, because we had toxic relationships in the past, that we both realized we picked up toxic traits. And that's another thing that, especially same-sex relationships, you don't realize is what you picked up from being in a narcissistic or abusive relationship, and what, you know, things that triggered you to use or whatever. The one thing that did lack was communications. And that's the one thing we told each other and told ourselves, that in order for this relationship and this marriage to work, is we had to communicate.
Two things. What's the other one? Trust,
yeah. So, and that's when you look back at our previous relationships, there was no trust, no communication. It was always one-sided, and that's the hardest thing, especially because you don't want to come to terms with yourself of, I picked up these traits, and you're like, I don't have to change, but in actuality, you do have to change, and you have to grow. And in order for any it doesn't matter if it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, you have to put boundaries and trust and communication.
It's true. Now, Tita, your previous relationships, were they similar to Alicia's in that they were just living a lifestyle you couldn't do, or were they trying to sabotage you?
There's difference. The last few relationships that I can remember that were the toxic ones were all in active addiction.
Oh, I see.
One of them has just passed away recently, so I'm not going to talk on that. But another one I just talked to today, I claim her daughter, almost 17 years old. I still claim her. She came to live with us for a little while. Drugs are toxic, and they will mess everything up. And most people are still stuck in that addiction. And it doesn't mean that, you know, we left on unspeaking terms or anything like that. It's just some people you just steer away from, you know, and just, you know,
I understand.
Hope that they don't, you know, not wake up tomorrow. And when she got with me, that's one thing that she's never seen so much loss in her life as what I've still experienced. Like, it came to like 3 people a week for the first year that we were together.
3 to 5 people she was losing. And I
only knew or was close to, or family, or loved. And it's crazy.
And I've only lost one person to addiction before I met her. So I didn't know, because I didn't put myself in that type of crowd. Mm-hmm. So I, you know, was lucky enough to realize that it, you know, it's out there, but I always thought it wasn't going to be, you know, around me. And then meeting her and seeing that side and seeing how many people that she's lost. And it's tough because it's like when, you know, first started talking and started dating and moved in, it's just like one after another, after another, after another. And it's just like...
That's a profound thing to work a new partner through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But since, now that we have the sadness behind, or most of it, let's talk about the joy. When were we thinking marriage? How did the proposal go?
It went pretty quick.
Okay.
So
A little stereotypical.
I mean,
Yeah.
we said that we wanted to go slow. In our eyes, we still did. I mean, we didn't jump into the relationship, but when you know, you know. We did get to know each other as friends first for a few weeks, and we got together. But still, like, when you know, we still gave ourselves that boundary. Well, then, May 30th, we made it official that we got together. I think it was July. I proposed to her, July 11th.
It also came after the fact that, because it came up to rings and stuff, and I don't know how that came about. And I told her, oh, I don't need a big ring. Like, I'm not really, and I was never that little girl to have this picturesque wedding. Mm-hmm. Like, I never picture a wedding for myself, because honestly, I never thought I was ever getting married, because I didn't have good role models for marriages. The one thing I wanted was, like, my grandparents. They were married. They married, stayed married all the way until they both passed away. Mm-hmm. So I was like, that's the kind of marriage I want. And I didn't really care. Didn't know how, like, where to get it or how to go through it. Like, go to Justice of the Peace, Vegas, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to have a big wedding. And I told her I don't care for an outlandish, crazy ring, because I don't wear a lot of jewelry as is.
So we got the silicone ones.
Oh, so she got a silicone.
And I hid them in my bra. And I took her to, I was like, baby, I want to go take some pictures. We went to, what's it called? Island?
Crystal River. Fort King Island Beach.
Oh, very
and
nice.
The sunset, and there was dolphins, and I handmade my own little picnic and baskets and everything. I made her a photo album with all the pictures from when we met to that point. Mm-hmm. And I put on TikTok, and I'm like, babe, put on TikTok. I want to share this or whatever.
She put it as being just a picnic, like a surprise
picnic,
mm-hmm. A surprise date, because I never had anything like that. And she was like, I want to go see the sunset. That's all she told me.
I was about to ask, did you suspect?
And then in my proposal, I was like, so, it's on video behind you. I was like, so, I know we said we didn't want to move fast, but... You gonna marry me or what?
How sweet. All this was captured on TikTok?
Yeah. Because she wanted me to record it. And I was like, what the hell do you want me to record it for? And she's like, just record it. And I'm like, okay. And she came up with the photo album as a gift because she surprised me with it. And I'm just like flipping through. I'm like, oh, because it's all the pictures that we were taking since the day that we met. Like, she's a real picture person. I thought I was. No, she has me beat. So every point, like, we have to take pictures of something. And we have the pictures of the first day we met in person at the hospital. So she has, like, those pictures. And every time that we got to spend with each other, she has those pictures.
The first outfit I wore out of, like, hospital clothing when I went home. And she was like, oh.
That fell more in love with her.
Oh, that's so good.
So I put a picture of that in there and everything.
It's good to have a picture taker. You will really appreciate it. Once you look, like, 20 years from now, you'll appreciate it.
And you never know, when you're going to lose someone.
That's true.
And I've always been like that before all this also. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what my next question was going to be. How did friends and family react to the relationship and the whirlwind marriage and all of that?
Immediate love.
I don't think they were surprised.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my mom...
Well, neither one of us ever been married. And
No.
still our families weren't surprised. They just knew.
Yeah.
Like we knew.
Because everybody kind of knew, because, like, seeing us in pictures and stuff like that, like, all we kept getting is, like, you guys are smiling so much. You guys are so happy. You guys are perfect to each other.
They always tell her how much they've never seen me smile so much. She has a nickname, Tina's Baddie. And then, like, her family's the same. Like, we've never seen her smile so much. Mm-hmm. And it's people still make these comments on our lives, like.
Oh, how great.
Yeah. And
not when we talk about LGBTQ stories, I feel like in the past, a lot of times we talk about trauma and not acceptance, and I don't really want that to be the focus of your story. But was there any issues at all with that? Was everyone cool?
No, everybody loved us.
Everybody, because I mean, for me, and looking back at it, I've always been like, when people say, you're born with it, like, you are, because I look back at younger years and I'm like having crushes on girls, but then, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I didn't have a role model. And I was never around anybody gay. And so I didn't know. And I grew up with a Japanese grandmother. And it was just like one of those things of, if they were still alive, those would be the people that would be against it.
Same here.
But when I was in my teens, that's when I did the whole bisexual thing. But I was still needing to be with a man because, psychologically, because society puts it in your head that you have to be with a man and a woman. Mm-hmm. And when it became COVID, and I was like, why am I not having successful relationships? Like, what is it that I'm not having successful relationships? And that's when I had to come to terms with myself because I had major inner homophobia. And that's the thing that people don't realize. Like, inner homophobia is a major thing because you got your family, friends, society sitting there saying that, like, this is wrong or this is right, blah, blah, blah. And I finally came to terms and I started watching TikToks of, like, women coming out at a later age and, like, finally happy being themselves. And then when I came to terms with that, and I went before her, I talked to, 2 other women and just wasn't hitting it. But with her, it's just like the final fitting piece of my puzzle. And she's just like me, but a little bit different.
Going back to that, I lied.
Okay.
Before I met her, coming out as, when I came out, it was an accident, first of all. My stepmom was, she was Catholic, and my father was kind of like a biker kind of guy. I mean, not kind of, he was. And at the time, I had a girlfriend, but my father was partially racist. So my stepmom jokingly one day was like, well, what if her girlfriend is of a different color? And I was like, yeah, she is. And I told her myself. And they were both not very happy at all. I mean, they grew over the years, but they're both passed away now. But I had only come out right before my stepmom died, and she came to love me like for who I was. And then my dad, it took him a couple of years, but I just lost him almost 6 years ago. But yeah,
so you guys are kind of trailblazers in your family. Role models yourselves. Do you think of yourselves that way? Because I know you have the TikTok, and then you also have a Facebook support group, which we'll talk about in a minute. But do you think about yourself that way?
Not really.
No.
You don't? I think maybe you might have to start thinking about it.
I like the fact that we're trying to help other people, mm-hmm. and show people that you can do things in life and have sober fun, and we always put sober fun in our fun adventures on our Facebook or TikTok alone. But my family, I don't know. I know that they love who I've become, and I don't know about trailblazing, but it is something to think about.
She's gotten relationships back in her family that she lost because of addiction. But now, and I think a lot of people, I'll just be me. Like, I'm straight, I'm straightforward, tell it how it is. I don't sugarcoat anything. And I'm, sensitive to energies and things like that. And I just don't care. And I'm more of a loner. And like when earlier when you were saying about marriage and stuff, like I thought I was going to be all by myself with my fur babies. And
they all wear matching outfits with us.
Yeah.
I noticed you guys matched today.
Yes.
Looks very nice.
We're the older couple that likes to match.
With our fur babies, too.
It's
With
very
her.
cute. If only we could have the fur babies in the room.
Yes.
So your Facebook Live, what was the impetus for that? How did you guys even come up with that?
So I was going through really bad depression spell, and I was on the verge of like thinking about relapsing really bad, and all I kept thinking about was alcohol, and I was like, I need something, and I was watching like some TikToks, and then I was scrolling through Facebook, and I had I'm also in another group to where you're kind of a stand-in family member, and
For the LGBTQ.
for the LGBTQ, and I have one, it's like my sibling. They, I messaged them. I was like, "What do you think about if I were to start my own Facebook group of recovery?" Because they're in recovery as well, and they're like, "That would be awesome." I'm like, "Would you be down to like join?" They're like, "Yeah." As I'm gonna write out an objective, and I'm gonna talk to Tina about it, and then see what she thinks, and then, possibly come out with it, possibly not. So it actually started up because I was on the verge of relapse, and so I wrote out an objective. And mind you, I never write out anything because I hate writing out feelings and stuff because I see it. And that's when I knew I was serious about that, because I actually wrote the objective, what I wanted, how I would want to see from an outsider. I read it to her, and she was like, "That's awesome. Like, I love it. Yeah, most definitely." And I put it together in one day and made a post about it in Facebook. And she started friend requests, like sending out to her friends that are in recovery. And
They come in on our lives too, and they'll like join our live and be on screen with us and just kind of explain their story or just what they went through today or yesterday,
And so we did our first live, and now we're making it to at least 1 day a week. We're going to try to do 2 days a week, just to come on live, just so people can share their story or hear
Just
other
listen to
people, listen to us. The thing is I named it "What's Your Recovery?" because what is your recovery? And people don't think about that. Like, I never thought about my recovery. What is my recovery? And she never thought about it like that either.
And it changes your reason.
Your reason changes day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. And, you can, just like how your feelings for your depression and stuff like that, it changes. So it's just, one of those things. And when people come and join our live, and I'm like, "What's your recovery?"
Every week we'll ask again, if it's the same, cool. If it's not, what is it?
And so people are like, "Oh my God, I never thought about it that way." And so we have people from self-harm, drugs, alcohol, eating, people who are, family and friends of addicts but never been in addiction themselves.
Like my mom joined the live once.
Yeah. And so her mom joining it helped give that other side from the people who are affected too, but never did it themselves. And they need some sort of safe space as well, because it's like, how can I? And it also helps them see from an addict's point of view of, this, we're not doing this because to hurt you. This is the real deal. This is the reason why. And so they get a better understanding of a person. And then, being in the LGBTQ community, it really just helps because you got like-minded people. And so
That casts the net a lot wider. And for some people are unfamiliar with Facebook and Facebook Live. So, a live is a video stream that you can hop on and you guys respond to people.
Yes.
But the people who are in your group, both people affected or close to addicts and the addicts themselves, when they interact with one another, do you guys make sure that you maintain like a respectful space?
Always.
They can't,
Always.
No one can insult each other.
No.
Because I know some people who feel like they've been victimized by people who struggle with addiction. Sometimes they come in and they can be angry.
Right.
And this is where I put in the objective part of this is a safe space. This is positivity only.
No war stories.
No war stories. And it's also, nothing to bring you down. No woe is me, because we're infamous for being woe is me and putting, blame on everybody else. And we don't tolerate that. And, from a Buddhist aspect, it's about ownership of yourself, and you have to take ownership with your own life. So it's just one of those things of that's what I made sure that part of the objective, that's what it is. And if we see anything, luckily, we haven't had anything like that. Everybody's respectful. Everybody's on the same page. So, we keep it at a really nice flow, positive, happy energy.
But on the other hand, if you did have a bad day, tell us about it. Just don't be negative with other people kind of thing.
Right. And as we spoke off camera,
Right.
that you don't want it to be like an AA meeting. You don't want it to be this sterile meeting where we come in and you guys hold each other accountable. It's more like a check-in.
Right.
Yes.
And it's really nothing against the AA or NA community. It's
Right.
just we want people who don't feel comfortable in those meetings, we want them to have a comfortable, safe space. We also we accept anybody's can go on there, but people who are in maintenance programs who take a medication to help them stay sober, for people who don't know, they're welcome too. In a lot of areas, they're not welcome, and so we want them to feel welcome.
And it's just, we want to show people that are in addiction and that are thinking of, and the sad thing is a lot of the LGBTQ community, they are heavily in addiction, because that's their only outlet from reality. That we do recovery, we can recover, and we can stay in recovery for a long time. It is possible. So we're that group that shows that there's another way and another outlet to do it and be on the right path and keep a healthy life and everything like that. And so that's just how it came about.
How wonderful. What are your plans for the future for the group and for yourselves?
So to get stronger with our relationship and our marriage and our recovery, but also for the group, I want to be able, I don't want to call them meetings. I want to do meetups. Like, I want to eventually be able to
Sober fun.
have sober fun, show that, because that's a hard thing, is once you get sober and clean, you lose so many friends because they feel that you're not fun enough anymore and that you don't know how to have fun. Yeah, I still like to go dancing. I like to go, to the bars, but I don't have to drink. But, people who are not in that community don't realize that. So making be able to have meetups to have sober fun, go bowling, do whatever.
Springs.
And, do activities together, but in a sober living, like a sober way of life. And know that we don't need substance to be able to come out and be ourselves and have fun. So
How wonderful.
I see it as if we can help one person a day, a week, whatever, that one person is going to help another person, and it can start a train of just helping people, and it will eventually get around the states and around the world. Like, help will just transfer down.
And I want to be able to have like different, meetup groups in different states, to where that way, what's your recovery groups of, let's meet up here. If you're in this area, let's meet up here. Or if you're over here, let's do this, and just so people can have that outlet.
Wow, thank you guys so much. Thank you for sharing your story and your aspirations for the future. Now, your recovery group, what's it called again?
What's your recovery?
What's Your Recovery on Facebook. How would they find you? Do they just like a page?
Yep, they just like it, and it'll let us know. And then we have, opening thing to introduce yourself, put a picture, and kind of just tell us a little bit about yourself so we can get to know each other and jump on our lives whenever we have it. And then also, if you're having like a rough day or you want, need something, You could post in there
Or
and
message us.
and then we have an anonymous button as well, to where if you don't feel that you want to share something because it is public, you don't want people to see, you can post it anonymously, but you put your thoughts out there so you might be able to help somebody or get the help that you need. So
Wow, that is great. To anyone watching, be sure to check out Alicia and Tina on their Facebook Live. It seems like they're doing a lot of really good work over there. And now that we are at their end, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. Once again, I am Taylor Strickland. I am a writer at Locala Magazine. You can read this story and more on our website at localamag.com. Our links will be in the description. Thank you all again. And remember, this is Locala Podcast, where we focus on connections through stories.
Once again, thank you for joining us here on the Locala Podcast. If you enjoyed today's video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you're alerted to our next videos.
With Ocala Pride reestablishing our presence, I would like to see more of the community, not just the LGBTQ community, but all of the community come together. And that has been my focus since I became vice president, is to make us one community.